So honestly, I get asked how I came into jewellery making, and it's a difficult question for me to answer because I've never known anything other than jewellery making. Before and after kindergarten, I went into work with my dad and got sat in the workshop whilst he was setting up the store. So like my earliest memories are in the jewellery workshop. I was playing with like real hammers rather than plastic hammers. There was never a moment where I didn't think I was going to be a jeweller. Just ingrained in me from birth. That's just who I am. There weren't jewellery schools in New Zealand. Like if you're a kid and you're wanting to draw a car, you're not going to go to an art school and learn how to draw a car. So it was never an option. Am I going to teach myself or am I going to go to school? It was like, I'll just teach myself. Every single class I was in, no matter which class it was, I would be drawing in my notebooks. Actually, not in my notebooks. I went to school with a backpack. It was empty. There was no books in there. There was like a rotten apple. And I would go to school, I would ask to borrow like a sheet of paper off of somebody in the class and a pen, and I would draw. But yeah, I wasn't a great student, other than anything than art class. So I dropped out of high school early, and I was making some jewellery at home to sell through like fashion stores, sort of fashion jewellery. But at the same time, I got a job doing repairs in a workshop. At the time, frustrating and mind-numbing, but honestly was probably the best education you could ever ask for. But it just let me learn the basics in terms of how to build something that's going to be practical and durable. For many years, I was mostly commissioned making people's engagement rings. And I must have done that maybe for about 25 years in total. And I just got to a point where, as I was making the engagement rings and making other people happy with the commissions, whilst imagining what would make me happy to make, and it just got to a point where I had to like be a little selfish for a little while and create what I needed to create, because as I said, time is limited. I was lucky enough to mostly grow up in the 80s, and so that's where my greatest inspiration comes from, with all of the explosion of skate sort of like neon colours and surf neon colours, and the boldness of graffiti and all of the colourways there, and the swagger of hip-hop music. And it's weird, but that's what inspires me now. Rather than making other people happy, all I'm concerned about is making myself happy and being happy with what I'm doing, which is just amazing. Honestly, it was a surprise that I am teaching. When people would reach out to me, I love sharing little bits here and there, but teaching was never something I thought I would chase. But as you get older, you realize all of these self-taught things can be translated and given to others. So whilst I'm explaining and exploring how I create my work, at the same time I'll be able to convey the why, not just the how, but the why, and hopefully that will unlock something in people that get them just thinking a little bigger too. The making part is like telling the story, but first you need to have the concept of what the story is. So when I'm creating something, I love not to have any limits whatsoever. So I don't constrain myself by thinking about materials or value or the audience even. I just take off any limitations or constraints, and then I kind of build upon that. Then I get into the setting, which is that's where you've primed your canvas and you've put down the gesso and you've stretched it out, and you get to paint the colours on the surface. And so that's probably one of the most rewarding parts, where you get to select the stones. And I'll sit there with huge parcels of stones and choose the particular stone for just the right spot. And I feel like people quite often rush that part because they're like wanting to get the thing finished, but that's the part where you need to slow down and really enjoy the process and be very mindful about where you're placing things. And then at the end of it, I've got the finished piece all done. I really did want this time that we get to spend together to be the seed of starting to think bigger. And so to create this little acorn and to have the flourish of the first little leaf of a sprout of an idea, I really would like for this to be the symbol that somebody can have to see that it's going to grow into thinking in a new way and taking the skills you learned and then building upon them to tell your own story. And be the seed and the start of something much bigger. I think I would hope that this time together would give you the confidence within yourself to not feel like an imposter anymore and to have the confidence in what you're doing. I mean, I think all you have to do is have a look at like a Picasso painting, and like if you're like comparing yourself to the old masters, you're gonna not feel great. But look at Picasso, look at Basquiat. Like, you could do one of those and they're like some of the most valuable artists in the world. So again, I'm just hoping that this time together can make you see things a little differently, to have confidence within yourself and to stop comparing yourself to others, to get confidence in your own skills. And I'm hopeful that this class will be the seed that will just make you say, this is me. It's not good or bad, the work is me. You're going to put out your work. This time together will blow out any imposter syndrome, any doubts, and just give you the confidence to push forward and be you.